My name is Rima Laibow, MD. I am Adam Lanza's doctor. I have treated Adam Lanza, young and old, male and female, for more than 4 decades. I have treated people who are autistic, have Asberger syndrome, are schizophrenic, have OCD, ADD, ADHD, are bipolar, have major depressions, are manic, have multiple personality disorders, and just about every other diagnosis that people receive when they're in the system. I have treated these people for more than 42 years since I graduated from the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, and I have never written a prescription for a psychiatric drug. In fact, I have never written a prescription for any drug. Of course, I believe that they are totally unnecessary, and using them is absolutely unconscionable. I have, while serving as the acting director for a large child and adolescent psychiatric inpatient ward in a hospital not very far from Newtown, Connecticut, looked at the drugged, disoriented, drooling, and dangerous children in my care, ranging from age 4 to age 16, and I have taken all of them off psychiatric medication. Of course, I weaned them carefully because, you see, I simply could not tell what I was looking at, what we were dealing with, when these drug-damaged brains and bodies were all that I could see in the kids that I had to care for. The nurses told me I could not do that because they could not control the children. And I said, how do you know that since the children are violent, homicidal, and suicidal, but they're all on drugs that are making them violent, suicidal, and homicidal, how do you know that you can't control them? How do you know that they will be violent, homicidal, and suicidal once they are off the drugs? They said, you can't do that. They said, we'll go to our union to prevent you from doing that. I said, go ahead. And I replied to them that the medications were not the kids' meds. They were the staff's meds. I said, these medications are being used to keep you, the staff, comfortable, to keep you feeling safe. They're not for the children at all. They went to their union, but I had a Connecticut medical license, and that was a union card that trumped theirs. I took them off the medication. The 4-year-old who was on 11 different psychiatric medications was toe walking, which is an indication of injury in a child that age, neurological injury. She was spinning, drooling, almost incoherent, and she wanted to die at the age of 4. I took her off all the meds. She stopped spinning, she stopped drooling, she stopped toe walking, and I asked her, why did you put a knife in your mommy's boyfriend's leg when he was asleep? She pointed to her vagina and she said, he was hurting me here every night and my mommy would not stop him. I called forth an investigation, a criminal investigation, and mommy and the boyfriend went to jail. I was the first person who had asked this child the reason that she stabbed her mother's boyfriend. You see, I am old enough that I learned my craft and my art before the advent of these untested, highly profitable, and totally unconscionable psychiatric drugs. I read the literature on these neurological poisons, and I saw that there were no long-term studies, that the pediatric studies were absent, that there was very poor medical justification or psychiatric justification for their use, but that the advertising supported supposedly impartial and supposedly scientific journals were nothing more than paper prostitutes. They're all dressed up in glossy ads and glittery words. But the doctors are their Johns. I watched in horror over my career as younger and younger children have been given stronger and stronger drugs for less and less convincing, compelling reasons. In my mind, however, there is no justification, there is no compelling reason to use any of these psychiatric drugs. In order not to have to do that to people, damaging them permanently, irrevocably, and in ways we are only beginning to understand, I learned orthomolecular medicine. I learned orthomolecular psychiatry. They work. I learned how to listen to people and help them move toward emotional health. That works. I learned how to employ neurobiofeedback to teach the brain how to regulate itself into harmony and capacity and functional states that match the needs and abilities of the individual. That works magnificently. I learned how to use frequency medicine, homeopathy, intravenous nutrition, herbal medicine, and a variety of other modalities to help people actually heal, not just suppress or create symptoms. They work. I learned how to use diet and detoxification because I became an environmental physician to understand that aspect of healing and supporting the development of a healthy person. That works. What does not work is drugging the brain with toxins which create the very symptoms that they are supposed to cure. They cure nothing. They poison and they distort forever. I have met and held Adam Lanza's mother in my arms while she wept in fear and despair for her child. And I have held her in my arms while she wept in joy because she had her child back, a child who was clear-eyed and bright and living in the world, not hiding from the world. Not just for a moment, but continually and consistently. I have held Adam Lanza's mother's hand in court as we pressured the school to give Adam the education that he needed, not the one that earned the school extra income by having Adam labeled and drugged as a particular category of special needs child who qualified for bigger state supplementation of the school's budget. And I have sat with Adam's brothers and sisters, helping them to undo the trauma that Adam has brought into their lives. Adam Lanza and I have spent hours together as he climbed out of the pit of his own psychosis without drugs, confinement, or violence. It wasn't smooth, it wasn't always easy, but it worked. And I have attended the funeral of more than one Adam Lanza, whose family pressured his mother, or whose non-custodial parent pressured his custodial parent through the court to put Adam on drugs, and then did not have the good grace, the decency, the wisdom, or the mother wit to understand that they were responsible for his death. Let me be absolutely clear. We know of no, quote, chemical imbalance which accounts for mental and emotional illness. We know that genes are disrupted and then function is distorted by a host of causes, among which are heavy metals like mercury and industrial poisons like formaldehyde and fluoride, and foreign DNA and proteins and viruses which call forth an autoimmune response by the body on its own nervous system. This is a type of expression of what I have called genome disruption syndrome, or GDS. It is not genetic drift, which is causing the change in human health and behavior. It is the toxicity which we are allowing, inducing, and requiring, which is causing the change in the human genome function and in, therefore, its expression in illness and behavioral distortion. It is this genomic disruption which is linked to increasing cancer rates, increasing rates of diabetes, cardiovascular disease, other degenerative diseases, and psychiatric illness. It is this genome disruption which was virtually unknown in the lives of our grandparents and in the childhoods of our parents, which is killing us. Human genes are the same, but the genomic disruption is by no means the same. Adam was, according to his uncle, previously, quote, treated, end quote, with a drug called Fantapt, a novel and highly dangerous antipsychotic which was rejected by the FDA numerous times because of its high side effect profile. Among those side effects, psychosis, violence, and aggressive behavior. I would say Adam had side effects. I must presume that Adam was also vaccinated. So this Adam Lanza was toxic with thimerosal, which is 49.6% mercury by weight, and with formaldehyde and fluoride and MSG and foreign DNA and diploid cells, foreign proteins, viruses, polysorbate 80 or tween, and other systemic toxins injected repeatedly into his body, despite the fact that he could not detoxify from them. So this Adam was neurotoxic. And his mother, I must presume, followed the instruction of either well-meaning or deceiving experts who told her that the vaccines were good for him, that they were necessary, that the psychiatric drugs were the only way. I am sure that she followed their perhaps well-intentioned advice in order to help and protect her child. She is dead today because the advice was wrong. He is dead today, and so are many others, because the advice was dead wrong. There are no safe and effective vaccines. And the fact is, despite the beautiful ads and the seminars and the free pizza and salad lunches in windowless conference rooms in the hospital or the clinic, these drugs and these vaccines kill. They are not safe and they are not effective. And the Adam Lanzas and their mothers and sisters and brothers and fathers, neighbors, and today all his grieving neighbors in Newton, Connecticut can testify to that. There is a time to say no, and that time has arrived. No to psychiatric drugs. No, there is always a better way. Always. I repeat, more than half the people who kill themselves are on psychiatric drugs when they do so. Virtually every public massacre in the last 2 decades has involved people on psychiatric drugs or people just coming off psychiatric drugs. No to psychiatric drugs and no to vaccines. There could not be a worse way. There is no reason, no rhyme, no science to vaccinating people. Virtually every outbreak and epidemic of a communicable disease has occurred in the fully vaccinated in the last decades. Vaccines create disease and they cause a weakening of the immune system with horrifying results. What is the answer of the vaccine pushers? Hey, if 2 or 3 or 4 doses of something don't work, let's give people 3 or 4 or 5 or even 6 doses of something. We'll call them boosters. And while we're at it, we'll create new vaccines that don't work either. And no to GMOs and no to industrial food. Psychiatric drugs kill those who take them and those around them. They are inexcusable and unnecessary. I am Adam Lanza's doctor, and you are Adam Lanza's neighbors, friends, and family. At the bottom of the screen, there is a link, and that link will take you, when you copy and paste it, to an action item. Using only your computer mouse and your keyboard, you can tell public policymakers that you will not accept involuntary drugging of yourself or your children. And yes, it can happen to you. We must protect our bodies and our freedom. And then I urge you in the strongest terms, go to that link, copy it, and send it to everyone you can reach, asking them to take the link and the action once for every member of their family, just as you have, and forward it on to their contacts. There is a time for no. That time is now. This is Rima Laibow, MD, and I am with you in my desire for freedom, for health, and for the freedom to choose what happens to my body.